Welcome back everybody to Warthog Radio News. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be talking about the planes that are coming in patch 2.0. So be sure to hit that subscribe button because we have some pretty interesting ones. Starting off, well, everyone is talking about the VTOL jets. The Harriers and the Yak-38. The United States, UK, and Russia are all getting two vertical takeoff aircraft. One in the tech tree that is rank 6. For the US, it's the end of the ground attacker line. For the British, it's after the Swifts, before the Jaguar. And the Russian one, of course, goes to the end of the Yak line. While the premium ones are all rank 5 and cost a bit over 9,000 Golden Eagles. Regardless of rank though, they all share the same 9.7 battle rating. Now the differences between these tech tree and premium VTOL jets for every nation was very slim, coming down to the ordnance that they could take out. Unless the stat cards were lying or there's something I missed, their flight performance was the same. For the United States, the AV-8A and 8C, their armors were actually completely the same, and their flight performance as well. Perhaps in a dive you could reach the sound barrier, but for a 9.7 aircraft, it did not seem like it might be doing that well. Aircraft that it would come up against, like the F-100, could indeed reach a sound barrier, but also had 4 air-to-air missiles, while things lower than it, like the MiG-17, has a much similar top speed, while only being 9.0, and the premium MiG-17 has air-to-air missiles. So what does the Harrier have to defend itself with? How does it rack up against all these threats that's coming at it? Easy. It has AIM-9Gs. While these are no AIM-9Js, they are definitely better than the Bs that the contemporary aircraft have. But they also have another trick up their sleeve, and that is the thruster vectoring, which allows them to do some pretty interesting combat maneuvers. When used correctly, you could definitely outturn just about any aircraft. However, they're kind of hard to master, and the way I have them keybound is not that great. But I could see some people extremely dedicated to this aircraft taking full advantage of this, especially when it comes to the premium British one. Now, the tech tree British one is very similar to the US one. It has similar armament. It's missing Zuni rockets, but it also has the AIM-9G. However, the British one is armed with 4 Schwarms or SRAAMs, which happen to be the best missile in game in a 1.5 kilometer range. And typically, you don't really want to fire a missile that close because it won't turn fast enough. But these boys, they will turn fast enough. You throw these at a jet and sometimes they'll even fly sideways to hit the thing. So these things' close range abilities mixed with the complex thrust vectoring that the British Harrier can do. And you'll find yourself anytime that you're in a close range dogfight with an extreme upper hand. However, don't expect to be getting aces every match because you have to remember this is 9.7. 10.0 is just one step away, which has F-104s, which will outspeed you like crazy. Now in the terms of the Russians' VTOL, they're getting of course the Yak-38, which for anti-air purposes has 2 R-60Ms. And instead of 2 30mm Aiden cannons on the Harriers, you have 2 23mm GSH-32L cannons and a gun pod underneath the fuselage. From a glance at the stat card, it seemed like it had better performance, but as I said, performance of these things is a little odd and different than what you would normally see. Also, the difference was within the tens of kilometers per hour for top speed. The climb rate was noticeably larger, but the ceiling surface was much lower, and the turn time was longer. However, just like how the Harriers have tricks up their sleeve, the Yak-38 has its own. The tech tree Yak-38 can carry a whole lot more firepower than any Harrier, being able to carry up to 4 extra gun pods, leaving yourself with 10 GSH-32s, while the premium version can only carry 2 extra gun pods. But both of them can carry some laser-guided anti-ship missiles that you're going to use for tanks. And they have quite a lot of explosive power, is able to destroy an M60 by shooting the ground next to it. Now, you only get 2 of them, and they're not super accurate, but luckily the destructive power should make up for it. I know a lot of people are really good with the bullpups, so they should be even better with these things, which might be kind of terrifying to some tankers. Although I don't think they're going to be too much different than what you already have to deal with helicopters. Not that having more of that to deal with is a good thing. But besides what they are directly, what do they imply? What are we going to see in the future? Because of course, Russia's not going to be the only nation with laser-guided anti-tank missiles. It's entirely possible, although highly hypothetical, that we could see the A-10 in the next patch, the one after this. Just think about it. The Yak-38 had its first flight in 1971 and introduced in 1976, while the A-10 had its first flight in 1972 and was introduced in 77. And the guided ordnance that the A-10 could carry was, of course, plenty of laser-guided bombs, but also Mavericks. And the first variant of the Maverick used TV guidance, I think it's called. Essentially, the pilot would turn on a little TV and point a crosshair at what he wanted to blow up, and the bomb would take care of the rest. Not a whole lot different than helicopters, just the thing keeps on moving instead of trying to stay still, and it only gets 6 of them. Now, the GAU 8 Avenger might be a bit of a different story. However, its penetration, according to Wikipedia, which is a proven, trustworthy source, says its penetration isn't too much greater than the MK103s. But don't get your hopes up too much. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I think it would be quite ignorant of Gaijin to not add the A10, but there's no guarantee this coming. Like, seriously, add premium YA10 or maybe YA9 with only the 20mm, but give it some ground ordnance. That thing would sell like crazy, man. Crazy. I think we're getting a little too far off subject. Let's finish up with what the Yak-38 is bringing to the table. Not only does it have the laser guided ordnance, but it also has a ballistic computer. So if you just want to drop regular bombs, you have that possibility. And in comparison, the Harriers do not have a ballistic computer. So for my analysis, the Yak-38 will be better for ground pounding, while the Harriers will be better in air-to-air combat. Now, the British and the United States did not receive any other new aircraft. However, the Russians, as you probably already know, did receive a new aircraft, the MiG-21 BIS, which is like the MiG SMT, but better, because I don't really know. I don't have any of the top tier MiGs, so I can't really put my thoughts down on exactly how well this thing performs. It's just better than the other MiGs. The primary reason why it's better is, well, it's faster, but also can carry more missiles. Currently, the Allies have a monopoly on missiles, with their Phantoms able to carry up to 8 air-to-air missiles of 2 different types. The MiG-21 will give them a fighting chance being able to carry 6 air-to-air missiles of 2 different types. Of those missiles, they seem to be all missiles that are currently in-game, or if there's any new that I missed, they didn't seem to pop out in any way. I'm sure Russian enthusiasts will very much enjoy the craft, and its better performance will definitely assist when battling in the skies against the onslaught of Phantoms. But also in the terms of new Russian aircraft, well, it wasn't a new Russian aircraft, but the MiG-21 SMT did indeed get a new cockpit. It's actually just a copy-paste of the MiG-21 cockpit, including the nuke dropping panel that I've talked about in the past. The Germans also received some new aircraft, but none of them were top-tier jets. They received, first off, a copy-paste premium P-47D Razorback, which also does not have any bombs. I do not entirely understand why they added this thing. It has almost no difference than the current premium P-47 the Germans have. I guess now you could have 2 in a lineup for arcade to definitely murder everyone you see. The other aircraft is the Bf-110 G4, armed with technically at a max of 6 fixed 20mm cannons. However, 2 of them are pointing to the sky, 2 of them are in detachable gun pods, and 2 are in the nose. It can also take out either bombs or rockets. This one is not a premium and is actually folded with, I believe, the C7. It will probably be a pretty mean fighter and have a little bit of ground pounding possibilities if you do want to take out the tank battles. However, at that battle rating, there are better ground pounders out there for you. Japan received 1 new aircraft, the F1, the combat variant of the T2, which was essentially just a better T2, having more ordnance, but primarily it was armed with AIM-9Ps, which are an export variant of AIM-9Js, and I'm actually told are better than AIM-9Js. Though honestly, I have a pretty strong feeling that Gaijin's just going to use the same code that they used on the AIM-9Js, and they're actually going to show better performance. It's like those modified AIM-9Bs that are on the German 104. They have the same code as the regular Bs. They do the same thing. They just have a special name. Flight performance didn't seem too different than the T2, but I actually don't have the T2, so I can't see how it performs and compare it to this one. But they're both jets. They both go really fast. This one has better missiles. But not only does it have better missiles, it also carries 6 instead of 2. China's new jet, the Q-5AB, is another dead-on arrival. The jet itself looks cool, but it's at 10.0 and has no missiles, and upon not having no missiles, unlike they said in the developer stream, it has no more rockets than the prior one that is now 9.7. It has a bit more bombs, but no ballistic calculator, so who cares? At 10.0, you expect to have at least a ballistic calculator if you're supposed to be a ground attacker. Just wait a month or so, this thing will also be 9.7. Now, the new aircraft for Italy, I'm actually very interested in. It's a 2.3 ground attacker that can carry 2 bombs, very small ones, and oddly enough, AP bombs. But that is not the main appeal of the FC-20 BIS. It's its 37mm cannon, which only has 35mm of penetration, but it has quite a fast fire rate, and those AP rounds are APHE. And at 2.3, there's a lot of really lightly armored vehicles to abuse. It also has 2 50 cals, but they're Italian, as well as another Italian 50 cal and a defensive turret, and is quite maneuverable, so you'll definitely be able to pull off the bizarre maneuvers you have to top deck tanks. But I very much enjoy Guncast. It's a lot of fun, and the lower tier the better, so having something at 2.3 that's definitely gonna murder murder a lot of poor innocent seals is exactly what I want. Speaking of abusing seals, the French got exactly what this game needs. Another P-47, this time a P-47D Razorback, just like the Germans did, but this one has bombs. I don't know why the German ones don't get bombs. I guess it's just written in the script of fate. German P-47s don't get bombs. Anyways, the final aircraft is actually something interesting. The SK-60B, which is a quite nimble trainer aircraft with a very open cockpit, coming in at you at 7.3. It comes stocked with two 30mm Akin M55 cannons and can of course have many rockets, but can also take out two what are essentially Swedish bullpups. But you have to think, these are bullpups at 7.3, quite a low battle rating. Down that low and you will run into battles that don't even have radar guided anti-air. Kugel blitzes will be shooting at you, as well as Tiger 2s. That's right, my friend, on a bad day, Tiger 2s will be facing air-to-ground missiles. And on an average day, and even perhaps a pretty good day, the Mouse will be facing air-to-ground missiles as well. However though, the aircraft does not have that great performance. It's not super fast, it's very light, and when you have these air-to-ground missiles, you have no guns, so you better run. I'm very curious to see how this turns out. Should we have air-to-ground missiles that low? Honestly, I kind of feel like we need to have separate battle ratings for ground forces and air forces. So if you take something, say perhaps a G91R3 into ground battles, it is no longer 8.7, but perhaps 10.0 or somewhere around there, because it's just so good at killing tanks. Yet its regular aircraft performance is not that great. So when its primary focus is to fight other planes, it should be, I guess, 8.7. And a similar story for this plane. God knows how well it's going to do in tank battles, especially if it's unopposed by other aircraft. But if you were to up tier it in any way, it would suffer heavily in air battles. So perhaps a separate battle rating for ground battles and air battles isn't needed. Maybe I should make a suggestion on the forums for that. And that there is just about every aircraft that has been added to the game. Perhaps there's a few things I missed, but I have a feeling the patch is coming up very soon. The date found in the files was on the 15th, which happens to be a Sunday, so we're not sure if it's going to come earlier or later, but it's unlikely to actually land on a Sunday. And before I end this video, I want to thank my YouTube members and patrons. Perhaps most of the time when you hear a YouTuber thank their patrons or YouTube members, you don't entirely feel like they mean it. It is quite hard to portray emotion when you're talking to yourself in your room with your cat. But honestly, thank you guys a whole lot. Half of September and all of October, and it's seeming like parts of November, YouTube had decided that I'm not going to get any ad revenue. According to them, 100% of my viewers were bots, so they had refunded all of the ad revenue that advertisers had paid to have them run on my videos. While there are plenty of bots that do post on my YouTube videos, and I have to delete their dumb comments, for it to be 100% of viewers for over a month is ridiculous. Mainly because I've actually talked to some of these bots. In fact, I've talked to some of these bots for years now. However, I doubt YouTube would ever listen to reason, so I don't think I'm going to be getting any of that money from late September, October, and early November back. The only money that I did receive was from the patrons, YouTube members, and those who super chatted during the live streams. You guys were keeping me afloat. I live a pretty comfy life, but I do have some expenses, however minor they may be, and thanks to you all, I was able to stay above water. So thank you very much for supporting me. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, I make War Thunder weekly news videos every Friday, make random videos throughout the week, and I actually stream on Saturdays. I also might need to find a day to do Enlisted weekly news, because that game is reaching closed beta, and I believe you can actually make content on it now. So be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. In the terms of bonus news, the Jaguars got new skins, and they look pretty nice. But also, another event vehicle had been found. This time it's actually been in the files for a little while. The F2G1 Super Corsair, as well as some pinups, Catwoman, Phantom Girl, and Pirate Girl.